Hey guys, in the fast lane here. In this video, I'm going to be answering the top 10 automotive AC questions. Why are some car AC fans electric powered and others belt driven? Well, some of it has to do with emissions, where when the vehicle manufacturer was putting the vehicle through, they had to reach a certain emissions standard. And I would say they met it by putting an electric fan. But with new technology, they're using electric fan more than belt driven clutch fans. The second reason would be fuel economy. You get better fuel economy with an electric fan than you do with a belt driven clutch fan. The belt driven clutch fan puts a bigger load on the engine. When it's idle, it slows down a little bit when you start driving, but at idle, it definitely takes a lot more torque of the engine to rotate that fan. What is the average automotive AC cost? Well, right now, I took some notes. Pretty much the average borderline AC, you're looking anywhere from $400 to $500 for a repair. If you're repairing a TXV valve, which is a expansion valve, that's going to run you $200 to $800. And with a compressor, AC compressor, you're going to be looking anywhere from $1,300 to $2,500. These are just ballpark prices, but it kind of gets you a little bit of knowledge of where you might be at. Is it normal for the AC compressor to kick off when accelerating really fast, reaching high RPMs? Yes. This can happen with the thermostat inside the glove compartment inside where the glove box would be. There's a little sensor in there that runs by the blower motor. If that reaches the temperature, then it's going to kick off. Another thing would be like the high and low pressure switch. If they reach certain pressure, they're going to kick off. And the last thing I would say is just too much refrigerant. It'll kick on and off, because the high pressure side just shoots way up and over 400 psi, and it wants to kick off. The high pressure sensor will pick up on it or switch, and it will signal to turn off the fan and AC compressor. What is the purpose of the AC vacuum pump? Is it necessary? Yes, it's definitely necessary. What this does is it pulls out the air and moisture in the system. If you leave the moisture in the system, it can cause corrosion, and then it can just eat up the AC compressor, expansion valve, and then you just have a whole host of other problems. Another thing would be it increases the longevity, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you want to pull out the moisture because it moisture actually takes up space too, and so does air. And what will happen is you won't get your temperatures down as cold as they could be if you leave air and moisture in there. Not only will it damage the system, but you're not going to reach your temperatures. So if you do a charge and it ends up having too much air and too much moisture, where if you vacuum that out, you could hit in the 40 degrees, where you're going to be hitting maybe the 50s if you leave that air and moisture in there. So you definitely want to do a vacuum. How does the condensation get into refrigerant lines? I would say not vacuuming the system. And the second thing would be bad O-rings and seals. So it's letting moisture get into the system. Any open system is going to allow some atmosphere humidity to get in there. Kind of like a Venturi effect, where the refrigerant's flowing through the line, but there's a little hole, so it kind of sucks it right in there, and then you get the moisture in the system, and then you're pretty much in trouble. What is considered a normal pressure between the high and low pressure side of the AC system when looking at the AC gauges? I would say if you're looking at the gauges and you have them hooked up high and low side, 30 to 45 on the low side, and anywhere from, you can go about 150 all the way up to about, I'd say, 350 on the high side. That's just a ballpark, but that's in safe territory. If you start going 400, 500, then on the high side, you definitely have problems. And if both sides are up, then you possibly have a bad AC compressor. How do you test an AC compressor on a car or truck? Well, you can do the ear test where you can hear it chattering. That's going to be the AC compressor clutch. Uh, you can do a 12-volt test probe, and that'll tell you if it's getting 12 volts to the compressor clutch. I mean, pretty much if you're running into like an AC compressor problem, you're going to have, like I said earlier, you're going to have high and low pressure on both sides. So let's say you hook up the gauges and your high side is all the way up and your low side's all the way up. What that's showing you is that the refrigerant from the high side is crossing into the low side and it's neutralizing. So the needles are both way up on the gauges, and that's going to indicate that you have a bad AC compressor. So, yeah, it's, I mean, you can get the clutch not engaging. When you turn it on, you look at the side of the vehicle and you see the front of the AC compressor clutch is not spinning, but the pulley is. That means the clutch is engaged. That could be a bad AC compressor clutch, or it's just not getting voltage. I actually had an incident just recently where it was actually the wiring harness, the main wiring harness was shorting out, and it wasn't kicking the AC compressor clutch on. It was crazy. What are the symptoms of a car AC compressor failure? So, some of the symptoms would be not kicking on, not cooling down, uh, high and low pressure side are kind of neutraling out where the high side's high and the low side's high. You're starting to hear chatter, belt squealing. The belt can be squealing if it's loose, but it can also be squealing if the AC compressor pressures are too high to where the belt starts to slip. And you'll actually hear it squealing and it'll start smoking. And that can be a sign of a bad AC compressor, or you just have way too much refrigerant in the system. Yeah, kicking on and off radically too would be another thing. Why does my car shake when I turn the AC on? Now, that's a classic sign of an overcharged AC system. And how this happens is when you charge it up all the way up, the AC compressor kicks on and the pressures on the high side go way over 400. And it's like a vehicle, an engine trying to pull too much trailer weight, and it's just revving the RPMs out, but it's not going anywhere because it just doesn't have the power to push it. And that's what can happen with an AC compressor. And then it'll eventually kick off because the high pressure switch will signal and it'll shut off. But before it gets there, it'll kick on and kick off and it'll start shaking. How do you bleed off an overcharged AC system? You can use a recovery AC machine. You'll hook it up to the high and low pressure side and you pull a vacuum. It'll vacuum everything out of the system and then it goes into a tank. Now, this tank, before you do this, you want to vacuum the tank, get all the air and moisture out of that tank to make sure it's really clean. Then you can extract it into that tank. And basically, you're just pulling it out of the system so it doesn't reach the atmosphere. You don't want to vent this stuff to the atmosphere. You want to do it the right way. And the right way is to use a recovery machine. You can also bring it to a automotive AC shop, pay them, a fee, and they can extract it for you, and then you can safely work on your vehicle. All right, that looks like all the questions for today. If you have any other questions about AC related, go ahead, leave a comment below, and I may answer them in the next video.